All right. We're now into our next step in creating the 3D model of our house. So we're going to create the doors and windows as well as the floors and the steps that we have here. So before that, the topic learning outcomes for this video tutorial is for learners to interpret 2D elevation drawings as references for modeling architectural openings and components in a 3D environment, create accurate 3D window models using dimensions and details derived from 2D elevations, and lastly, to develop 3D models or 3D door models by converting elevation based drawings into three-dimensional architectural elements. So to start, we have here our elevations. So as the same with how we did the openings of our walls, we're going to copy the details of our doors and windows. So for example, we're going to first copy this one for the door details. We're going to copy it two times because we have here the frame and then we have here the glass. So for the frame, like I've mentioned earlier in our past video tutorial, your lines or your element is only going to be able to be extruded when they are in a closed loop or one entity. So we're going to delete this one, and then after that we're going to region these objects, these lines, so that we can create a big square and two small rectangles. That will be the basis of our frames. So we're going to extrude them, I mean region them first, so that we create those regions. So we have here the big square and then the smaller rectangles. Then we're going to extrude them based on the depth of our jamb or the frame. So for example, this is going to be 3 inches, so that's 75 millimeters. We've extruded all of them. Now we're going to subtract the object that we're going to retain, and then, oops, sorry, select the object that we're going to delete. So now we have a frame. Now for the glass, so we're going to delete them, these ones here. We're going to just model the glass panels. We're going to region them again and then extrude them to whatever the thickness of the glass that you're going to use in your 3D model. So for example, this is just going to be a 1/2 inch glass. We're going to input 12.5, right? So there's a way that you can make them or these two objects here as one. The command for that is union, U and I, union. So you select both the objects or how many objects you can select them. Then when you enter, once you select them, it's going to be as one entity, right? So we're just going to color this one so that we can distinguish this as another object. Probably something like this one. All right. So we're now going to move this at the end of our here. So if you're familiar with how you move or how you snap your objects, I think this is not going to be hard for you. But if you want to verify, you can use other angles from your isometric view. Right. Then we're now going to move this inside our opening. So we're going to move this. I'm going to use the center of the window frame and the center of the wall opening. So there you have it. If you want to orbit your 3D, you don't want to use the isometric view, you can command 3D orbit, 3DO. And then you hold your left button of your mouse. Then you have it. Your the window frame, and then the window glass panel. So we're going to model again the door of our house. If it doesn't work, you can just we're going to copy this one twice for the door frame and then the door panel. So we're just going to create a line um, enclosing this gap here, and then we're going to region them, and then we're going to use to extrude them at 75 millimeters for the depth of our door frame. And then we will not use these ones anymore because now we're going to create our door panel. So again, region, and then extrude them. For example, you have a 25 mm or 1 inch door panel. You can put 25. Then you move them inside wherever it's it should pivot or it's hinged. Let's just use another color to distinguish them from our wall. And then we can move them as well inside the opening of our house. Right. Now we have the door frame and the door panel. So same process with your other elevation. So we copy the doors and windows of this elevation side, copy them twice. These are for the window frames, and then let's trim this. If it cannot be trimmed, just delete it, and then you create another line, and then you region them. So we now have bases for our frames, and then these ones we're going to delete the lines here. Oh, I think we can frame fillet these ones. And then these ones as well, we're going to delete them. These are for the glass panels and the door leaf. And then we region them. And then extrude these ones for the frame at 75. Since we need the opening here for our glass panels, we're going to subtract the insides. Oops. If you can't select them, it's probably because you cannot see the line. So if you want to go back to the 2D wireframe from your shade mode, you can do that so that you can select the interior objects, the objects that are inside this big volume or the rectangle. Yeah. And if you go back to shade mode, the realistic, you already have your voids. And then these ones, we're going to extrude them at, oops, they have different thickness. So I'm going to extrude this at 25 for 1 inch. And then this one's at 12.5 for half an inch. And then I'm going to join them, union, UNI, then color them again. If you want to use the similar color, you can command MA for match properties. You match the match properties here and another one here. For the door frame, you'll just use same colors for the door frame. All right. then door frame and window frame. Right. So we'll move this inside our window frame, then inside our door frame, our door panel, and put them inside our opening. So you can use different bases for or different reference lines when you are moving your objects, as long as that they are aligned with wherever you want them to be. Right? So I've selected the top of this frame, the end top, then you should put them at the end top of your opening. So for this one, same process. Then you just delete this and copy again. But if you have, for example, here, I think they are the same width, you can just copy them. Copy, and I'll put them here. Oh, yeah, that's correct. Then I'll just move them on the inner part. Oops, sorry. Move this. Oops, my bad. I think I snapped it on the wrong side. Uh-oh. So make sure that you snap them perfectly. Right? So these ones are different, so I'm gonna model them again. Copy them twice. And we're going to erase these ones so that we can have our glass panels for that region. Oops. If it doesn't work, you can region them one by one. Oh, wait. Why does this not work? Region these items here. There you have it. It's probably because I'm selecting um, other lines that are not part of the region area. So that's why it doesn't work. So I'm going to extrude these objects here to 12.5 for the depth. And then I'm going to union them all. Then I'm going to match the colors of the windows or window panels. And then these I'm going to extrude at 75. And I'm just going to go back to 2D wireframe shade mode so I can see where the objects that I'm going to delete. So subtract and click the objects inside, and then go back to shade mode, to realistic, and then you can move this inside your window frame, then move these inside. Oops, I forgot to match the properties of the window frame here, then move it inside your opening. Right, so when you're going to 3D orbit your model, perfect. Now we're going to put the floor and then the steps. So these are just easy. You can create a rectangle and you can just trace the lines. Then you can extrude it. Oops, I've selected the wrong line. Here, I've selected the right rectangle, so I can just extrude it and use the elevation as my basis for the height. Here, I'm just going to color this different. And I can actually delete that one so that I can I'll know how to select my line. Then match properties, and then we have the steps. Okay. We're now going to create the floor. So since I cannot see inside, we're going back to shade mode, 2D. And then I'm going to use a rectangle inside. Alright, so the only problem here is that how am I going to select my line when it's created? So this is the right. So I'm going to select it. Oops. Oh, wait. I'm just going to create it again on this side. I think it's snapped on the wrong side. Rectangle. I need it to snap. Wait, wait. All right, this one. You can actually create your rectangle at the top. Then we'll go back and find that line. Oops. Oh man. Oh, here. So let's move this one. Let's just extrude it for the meantime. At 200, and then I'm just gonna move it inside. There you go. Here you have it. I'm just going to use another color. Then let's 3D orbit that. We have now a floor. All right. So that's how you do your doors and windows as well as your floor. So next, on the next video, I'm going to teach you how to create your roof. All right. So thank you for watching. See you on the next video tutorial. Bye.